Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're going deep, really deep, into ancient Indian mythology.
And it's not going to be your average mythology deep dive.
I know, we're going to be looking at
We're going to be looking at
how it connects to...
how this ancient wisdom kind of intersects with modern science and technology.
And history and time, even.
Yeah.
I mean, we all want to know, did ancient Indian sages actually know about the Big Bang thousands of years ago?
Right. Were those flying chariots described in the epics actually real?
And what about those typical ages, the yugas?
Yeah, the yugas.
What can they tell us about, like, the rise and fall of civilizations?
I mean, that's a big one, right?
Yeah, it is.
Cycles of time. It's a concept that you see across cultures. But Indian mythology really delves into that.
Really does.
In a fascinating way.
It does. So we're going to start at the beginning with creation myths.
The very beginning.
Of the very beginning. So you have the Rig Veda.
What are the oldest texts?
One of the oldest texts, yeah.
Foundation of it all.
Yes. And it's got this story of the Hiranyagarbha.
The Hiranyagarbha.
It means the golden womb.
Golden womb.
Yeah. And it emerges from this primordial void.
Sound familiar?
Kind of sounds like the Big Bang, right?
It's the Big Bang. It really is. The parallels are just too striking to ignore. The Rig Veda talks about this golden womb cracking open, releasing the cosmos.
Yeah.
It's like an image that it resonates so strongly with the Big Bang.
With how we understand
with modern cosmology.
Yeah.
Which is incredible because this is a text that predates modern cosmology by thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah. I mean, how did they
know that?
Yeah, how did they figure that out?
Right.
Yeah.
Without all the telescopes and the math, and it's mind-boggling.
It is. And then there's Prajapati.
Prajapati.
Yeah.
The first sentient being.
Right, so he comes along and he shapes the cosmos.
Right. Out of that initial chaos, he brings order.
Yeah, it's like the ancient Indian answer to, like...
It is. How did order come from chaos?
Yeah, like how did...
Big question.
Yeah, how did the universal...
Question.
Yeah, get organized.
Yeah. I mean, we're still asking that question today.
Yeah.
Scientists are still, like, grappling with that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were already thinking about it,
you
know, thousands of years ago is just pretty amazing.
It is. Then you have the Nasadiya Sukta, which is the hymn of creation, and it really digs deep,
really deep into the origins of the universe.
Yeah.
Asking some really profound questions.
Like, where did it all come from?
Where did it come from?
Yeah.
Was there even a beginning? Yeah. And it basically says, we don't know.
It even says, even the gods don't know.
Yeah. It's remarkable.
Like, that's what blows my mind. Like, the humility in that ancient text to say, we don't know.
We don't know. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't always see that,
no.
Right? In ancient texts.
You don't.
There's often this, like, this is the way it is. Kind of a definitive answer.
Yeah.
But the Nasadiya Sukta is like, we're open to the mystery.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Which is, it's refreshing.
It's very refreshing.
And it actually, in a way, aligns with the scientific spirit.
Yes.
Right? Science is all about
asking questions,
being open to the unknown.
Being okay with not knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they're thinking about the origins of the universe, but did they have this concept?
Of order.
Yeah, of like laws?
Yeah. Like, were they just seeing it as random chaos?
Yeah, like governing.
Or was there some
underlying structure?
Yeah, governing the cosmos?
Well, they did. They had this concept called Rita, which essentially means...
Rita.
Yeah, Rita, which essentially means cosmic order.
Okay.
Or natural law. It's like the underlying harmony.
And balance.
That governs everything.
Blueprint, like a structure.
Yeah, it's like you could almost say it's like a cosmic blueprint.
Yeah.
That everything follows. It's like the rules of the game.
Okay, so
the universe.
How does this abstract concept of Rita actually, like, play out?
So think about the predictable cycles we see in nature.
Okay.
Day and night.
Mm-hmm.
The seasons changing.
Yeah.
The movement of the stars and planets. These are all expressions of Rita.
Okay.
It's the cosmic order that keeps everything.
So, like, the seasons always change in the same order.
There's a pattern.
Yeah.
There's a predictability to it.
Okay.
And they saw that as a reflection of this deeper cosmic principle.
Got it. So is it like gravity then?
You could even connect it to gravity.
Okay.
I mean, gravity is a force
that
governs how objects interact, right?
Yeah.
It maintains order in the universe.
It does, yeah. So Rita is kind of like the...
You could say it's like the underlying principle.
The force.
Yeah, the gravity is an expression of.
Okay. And how does this connect to modern physics?
Well, that's the fascinating thing. We have our modern understanding of physics without the laws of physics and the math and everything. But what's interesting is that this ancient concept of Rita kind of foreshadows some of these ideas.
Yeah.
It's like they intuited that there are these fundamental principles at play in the universe.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't have the same language.
Yeah. The mathematical language to
mathematical language to express it.
To describe it, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. And we can't talk about creation without mentioning the Samudra Manthan.
Yeah. Yes, the churning of the ocean.
The churning of the ocean.
One of my favorite myths.
It's a wild one.
It is a wild one.
Yeah.
So you have the gods and the demons.
Yeah.
They team up,
Yeah.
which is already kind of strange, right?
Yeah.
You don't usually see
Enemies working together.
enemies working together, right?
Yeah.
But they do, in this case,
They have a common goal.
they have a common goal. They want to extract the nectar of immortality.
The Amrita.
The Amrita, yeah, from the ocean.
Okay, from the ocean of milk.
The ocean of milk.
Yeah.
Which is
Right, it's a whole other.
a whole other thing to talk about.
We can dive into the
But the
journey.
point is, they churn this ocean.
They're using a mountain.
They're using a mountain
Yeah, and a giant snake.
as the churning rod and a giant snake as the rope.
I mean, come on.
Come on, it's an epic image, right?
It's amazing.
It's visually stunning. But then, of course, things get
Yeah.
complicated.
A lot of crazy stuff comes out.
All sorts of crazy stuff comes out of this churning.
Yeah.
You have poison.
Yeah.
You have divine objects.
Like a wish-fulfilling end.
Wish-fulfilling cow.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want that?
I would love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally,
The Amrita.
the Amrita, the nectar of immortality, emerges.
So is this just a fun story?
So is it just a fun story,
Yeah.
or is there something deeper going on?
Yeah.
I think there's definitely something deeper going on.
Okay.
Many scholars see the Samudra Manthan
Yeah.
as a symbolic representation of the universe's early stages.
Oh, okay.
So the churning of the ocean
Yeah.
is like all that turbulence and upheaval
Yeah.
that eventually gave rise to life.
Like a cosmic blender.
It's a cosmic blender, mixing it all up.
Yeah.
You know, creating the ingredients necessary for existence.
So it's like out of chaos
Out of chaos
Yeah.
comes order.
comes life,
Comes the universe as we know it.
as we know it. Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful image.
It is.
Right,
Yeah.
because it shows that even in those early chaotic stages,
Yeah.
there was this potential
Yeah.
for something amazing to emerge.
Yeah,
It's a very hopeful message, I think,
it's a very hopeful message, and it kind of bridges that gap, right, between
Yeah.
the ancient mythology
between myth and science.
and modern, cosmology. Yeah.
I mean, it's like we have our fancy scientific theories now,
Mm-hmm.
but they often echo
Yeah.
the intuitive wisdom
Yeah.
that you find in these ancient tales.
Yeah. Fascinating how those
Yeah.
two things connect.
It is, and it makes you wonder, like, what else might they have understood
Yeah.
that we're only now
Just starting to rediscover.
starting to rediscover?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's exciting.
it is.
It is. And this brings us to another intriguing concept.
Oh, yes.
The cyclical view of time.
So Indian mythology doesn't see time as a straight line.
No, not at all.
Right. It's not just this linear progression
Yeah.
from beginning to end.
Yeah.
It's more like a cycle,
Yeah. A series of
a series of cycles
yeah.
with periods of
Creation.
preservation.
Preservation.
Destruction.
Destruction.
Yeah, it's a very different,
Very different
Different
perspective
from
than
the-
what we usually think of.
our modern.
Our modern, like, linear view of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole different way of looking at it.
It is. So, how does this cyclical view of time play out?
Well, this is where the yugas come in.
Okay, the yugas, these cosmic
The
ages
cosmic age. It's
that govern
Yeah.
the rise and fall
the
of
rise and fall
civilizations,
of everything, really.
of everything.
Civilizations, but even just the cosmos itself. It's
Also-
like everything goes through these cycles.
Okay, so let's unpack these yugas.
Let's unpack them.
Yeah, because we've talked about them a little bit.
Mention them. But let's
Yuga
dive
Chakra.
in.
What are they?
What are they?
How do they work?
How do they work? All right, so you have 4 main yugas.
Okay.
The first one, the best one,
The best one.
the most ideal one at least,
Okay.
is Saki Yuga.
Satya Yuga.
Yeah, the golden age.
The golden age.
The golden age. It's described as this time of like purity,
Okay.
harmony, spiritual enlightenment. Like imagine a paradise
Yeah.
where humans live in complete alignment with cosmic law
Okay.
and experience like true happiness and fulfillment.
So like utopia.
Utopia, yeah, basically.
Okay, and it's all downhill from there.
Well, I wouldn't say it's all downhill,
Okay.
but
It's a cycle, so.
the cycle, right?
Yeah.
So after Satya Yuga comes Treta Yuga,
Treta Yuga.
the Silver Age.
Okay.
So things start to slick a little bit here.
Okay.
Virtue declines.
So like
Human lifespan.
less good.
Yeah, things are
Okay.
less good.
Less ideal.
Human lifespan gets a little shorter,
Okay.
and the first like seeds of conflict and ego start to emerge.
Okay.
It's a gradual descent,
So it's like the cracks are starting to show.
Cracks are starting to show.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still pretty good.
Okay.
Still, pretty good time to be alive.
All right. So what's next?
Next, we enter Dvapara Yuga,
Dvapara Yuga.
the Bronze Age.
Okay.
This is where things really start to heat up.
Heat up.
Conflict and ego become more prominent.
Okay.
Human lifespan continues to decline.
Okay.
Spiritual understanding
Okay.
dwindles a bit.
It's getting a little more human, you could say.
a little more human.
Yeah.
A little messier.
A little messier.
A little more challenging.
Okay, but there's still one more yuga,
There is one more,
and that is
and that is Kali Yuga,
Kali Yuga.
the Iron Age.
Okay.
And this is the one that
we're in,
a
right?
lot of people believe we're in right now.
Okay, so tell me about Kali Yuga.
It's described as a time of darkness,
Okay.
strife,
Mm.
materialism,
Okay.
Decline in moral values. Sounds familiar.
Sounds a little familiar, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you look around the world today,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of these signs.
You do. But what I find interesting is that this idea of cyclical ages actually lines up with real patterns we see in history.
It really does.
Yeah.
Like civilizations.
Civilizations rise and fall.
They rise and fall.
Empires crumble.
Empires crumble.
Values change.
Yeah. It's a recurring theme.
It's a recurring theme throughout history.
It is.
And so the Yugas provide this framework for understanding these patterns.
Okay.
It's like...
So it's not just like they made this up.
It's not just, a random story.
Yeah.
It's reflecting something real.
Yeah, something observable about how the world works.
About the way things work.
Okay.
Yeah, and how history unfolds.
So how did they come up with this idea of the Yugas, though?
Get this. Some researchers link the Yugas to the precession of the equinox.
Okay, the precession of the equinoxes. Explain that.
So this is an actual astronomical cycle.
Okay.
It takes about 26,000 years.
26,000 years.
26,000 years for the Earth's axis to complete one full wobble.
One full wobble.
One full wobble. And the ancients, they were aware of this cycle.
They were aware of this.
They were aware of this.
26,000 years.
They were observing the stars.
Wow.
They were paying attention to the movements of the heavens.
Okay.
And they noticed this wobble.
Wow. So they were incorporating...
Yeah, so they may have incorporated that into their
understanding of time.
Into the Yugas.
Okay. So they're observing the cosmos.
They're observing the time.
And weaving those observations.
Yeah. And they're not just like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
They're weaving it into their mythology.
Yeah.
Their philosophy.
Yeah.
Their entire worldview.
Their whole understanding of...
their whole...
how things work.
Understanding of how things work.
Okay. That's pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
It shows a level of sophistication.
Yeah, like a really...
like often don't give ancient cultures credit for.
Understanding of how everything's connected.
They understood that everything was connected. The heavens and the earth.
And the Yugas.
The microcosm and the macrocosm. Yeah, the Yugas are a part of that.
Okay.
They're seeing these patterns at both the cosmic level and the human level.
And the human level,
And recognizing that connection.
Okay, so we've got creation of the universe. We've got...
the cyclical nature of time.
The cyclical nature of time.
Yeah.
But what about technology?
Technology?
Yeah. I mean, were there advanced technologies in ancient India, like those flying machines we read about?
Oh, the flying machines. Yeah. The Vimanas, now that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, let's go there next.
Let's go there.
Because I want to know...
Let's fly.
I want to know more about these Vimanas.
Right.
What are they? Were they real?
Let's find out.
Okay, so we've talked about creation, cosmic cycles, those big picture things. But now I want to talk about something a little more, I don't know, down to earth.
Down to earth?
Well, not exactly. More like up in the air, I guess. You gotta talk about these Vimanas.
Ah, yes. The Vimanas.
The legendary flying machines.
Legendary is right. I mean, these things capture the imagination.
They do. Every time I read about them, I'm like, were they real?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, it is.
Were they actual physical flying machines?
Yeah.
Or are they, metaphors?
Yeah. Or something else entirely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's so intriguing about Vimanas is they're not just like vague mentions of flying objects.
Nice. Yeah.
You get in these ancient texts.
Yeah.
You get detailed descriptions.
Oh, yeah.
Like almost like technical manuals in some cases.
Yeah, blueprints.
Blueprints, yeah.
Yeah.
Outlining like propulsion systems.
Really?
Yeah, flight controls.
Wow.
Even like the effects of air travel on the human body.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not like
It's not just like, and then they flew off into the sunset.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they really get into the nitty-gritty.
Details, yeah.
Yeah.
So give me an example.
Okay, so take the Pushpaka Vimana.
The Pushpaka Vimana.
Yeah, from the Ramayana. This was like this luxurious flying palace.
Okay.
That belonged to Kubera, the god of wealth.
Okay.
But Ravana, the villain,
yeah.
he steals it.
To kidnap Sita.
To kidnap Sita, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the descriptions of this thing are amazing.
Really?
It could travel like vast distances instantly.
Almost like it could bend space and time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Okay, that's from the Ramayana. But the Mahabharata, that's where things get even more intense, right?
Oh, yeah. The Mahabharata takes it to a whole other level. I mean, they describe Vimanas being used as weapons of war.
As weapons?
Yeah.
Wow.
Launching projectiles that sound a lot like missiles.
The missiles. Wow.
There's even this passage that some people interpret as a nuclear explosion.
Wow. A nuclear explosion?
Yeah, it's pretty intense imagery.
It is. So are they just like exaggerating?
Well, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Are they just like poetic exaggerations?
Yeah.
To like, emphasize the epic scale of the battles?
Okay.
Or could they be reflecting some level of technological advancement
that we haven't even
that we don't even
fully comprehend.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the ancient astronaut theory comes in.
Oh yeah, the ancient astronaut theory. Right. Where people believe that the Vimanas were actually
Spacecraft.
brought to Earth.
Brought to Earth.
Yeah.
By aliens.
By extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials, yeah. Who share their technology.
Yeah.
With ancient humans.
Yeah.
It's a fun theory.
It is a fun theory. Is there any proof?
Well, proof is, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Proponents of the ancient astronaut theory often point to the Vaimanika Shastra.
Vaimanika Shastra. Okay.
Which is this ancient manuscript
that
supposedly details Vaimana technology.
Wow.
But the thing is, the authenticity of this text is heavily debated.
So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, definitely take it with a grain of salt.
Okay. But it's fun to think about.
It is fun to think about.
It is. And what I find interesting is how some of these descriptions of Vaimanas line up with
modern UFOs.
UFO sightings. Yeah.
Right. You have like the vertical takeoff, the high speed.
Yeah. The maneuvering.
And the complex maneuvers. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
It is. But, correlation doesn't equal causation, right?
Right.
Just because they have some things in common.
Just because two things look similar doesn't mean they
came from this
same place.
Same place.
Okay, so what about the people who say Vaimanas were just metaphors?
Right.
Like symbols of spiritual ascension.
Yeah. Or like the human imagination, right?
Yeah.
Reaching for the skies.
Yeah.
Trying to
break free.
Yeah. I mean, that's a valid interpretation.
Okay.
The idea of like a flying chariot could represent that desire to transcend limitations.
Okay, that makes sense.
To reach higher states of consciousness.
Okay, but even if they were metaphors, why are they described in such?
Why all the detail?
Yeah, with such detail.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost like someone's trying to it's like they're trying to give you a blueprint.
A blueprint, yeah.
And I mean, I think that's part of the beauty of mythology, right?
Yeah.
Is that it often leaves room for multiple interpretations.
Okay.
And whether Vaimanas were literal machines or metaphors, the fact that they were conceived of at all speaks to this
fascination with flight.
Human fascination with flight.
Yeah, like this innate desire to fly.
To conquer the skies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something that we see throughout history.
Yeah.
Not just in Indian mythology.
Oh yeah, no. You have
flying chariots.
Flying chariots in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, all over the world.
All over the world, yeah. So it's not just an Indian thing.
It's not just an Indian thing, no.
It's a human thing.
It's a human thing.
Yeah. So let's say, just for fun, the Vaimanas were real.
All right. Hypothetical situation. Hypothetical, yeah. And they represent some kind of lost technology.
Lost technology.
What could we learn from them?
Oh man, that's a big question.
Yeah.
If we could unlock the secrets of Vaimana technology.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be revolutionary. Think about it. Aviation, energy production, our understanding of physics.
Yeah.
I mean, it would force us to completely reassess our technological timeline.
Yeah.
And the capabilities of ancient civilizations.
There's like a whole chapter of history is missing.
Like a whole chunk of history is just like gone.
Yeah. But even if they weren't real.
Yeah.
In the literal sense, the very idea of them.
The idea.
The Vaimana. This ancient dream of flight.
This dream of flight.
Has inspired.
It has inspired so many innovations.
Yeah, throughout history.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. From Leonardo da Vinci's flying machines to the Wright brothers to like modern aerospace engineering.
Yeah.
It's all driven by that same desire to like break free from gravity, to take to the skies. And I think that's beautifully embodied in the Vaimana myths.
Yeah. So whether they were literal or not.
They were literal machines or metaphors.
Yeah. They tell us something about ourselves.
They tell us something about ourselves.
Yeah.
About what it means to be human.
About our dreams.
About our dreams.
Our aspirations.
Our aspirations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've explored the skies.
We have.
With Vaimanas.
We've flown high.
We've flown high. Now I want to go back to time.
Back to time.
Back to time. Because we touched on the yugas, right?
We did.
These cosmic ages.
The cosmic ages.
That govern the rise and fall of civilization.
The rise and fall of civilizations. Yeah, the yugas offer a really unique perspective on time and history.
Okay.
They suggest that civilizations, just like everything else in the universe, are subject to cycles.
Okay.
Of growth, decline, renewal.
So it's not just a straight line.
Not just a straight line. Yeah. It's a dance, you know.
Okay, so let's dive into these yugas then.
Let's do it.
And see what they can teach us. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we've explored the creation of the universe and flown through the skies with Vaimanas. Now let's take a journey through time itself with the concept of yugas. These vast cycles that supposedly govern the rise and fall of civilizations. It's like cosmic seasons shaping the course of history.
Yeah. The idea is that time isn't just a straight line, but a cyclical dance of creation, preservation, and destruction. Each yuga has its own unique characteristics, its own moral and spiritual flavor, if you will.
Okay, so walk me through these yugas. What are they and how do they work?
Sure. There are 4 main yugas. First, you have Satya Yuga, the Golden Age.
The Golden Age?
It's described as a time of purity, harmony, and spiritual enlightenment. Think of it as a paradise where humans lived in alignment with cosmic law and experienced true happiness.
Wow, sounds idyllic. But like all good things, it doesn't last forever, right?
Right. Then comes Treta Yuga, the Silver Age, where things start to slip a little. Virtue and human lifespan decline, and the first seeds of conflict and ego emerge. It's a gradual descent from the perfection of the Golden Age.
So things are starting to get a little more, well, human.
Exactly. And then we entered Dwapara Yuga, the Bronze Age. This is where things really heat up. Conflict and ego become more prominent, and human lifespans and spiritual understanding continue to dwindle.
Sounds a bit like the world as we know it, with all its complexities and challenges, but there's one more yuga, right?
Yes. The final yuga is Kali Yuga, the Iron Age. It's described as a time of darkness, strife, materialism, and a decline in moral values. Many believe that we're currently living in this Kali Yuga.
I can see why they'd say that, looking at all the challenges we face today. But what's fascinating is that this idea of cyclical ages actually lines up with patterns in history. Civilizations rise and fall, empires crumble, values change. It's a recurring theme.
That's what's so compelling about the concept of yugas. It provides a framework for understanding these cyclical patterns, offering a broader perspective on the ebb and flow of human civilization. It suggests that decline isn't necessarily the end, but simply part of a larger cycle.
So it's not just about doom and gloom. It's about understanding that history repeats itself, that there are natural cycles of growth and decay. But how did they come up with these yugas in the first place? Were they just making it up, or is there some basis for it?
Well, get this. Some researchers link the yugas to the precession of the equinoxes, which is a real astronomical cycle. It takes about 26,000 years of the Earth's axis to complete one full wobble. The ancients were aware of this cycle and may have incorporated it into their understanding of time.
So they were observing the cosmos and weaving those observations into their mythology and philosophy. That's pretty impressive. It's like they had this intuitive understanding of the interconnectedness of everything.
It really highlights the depth of their knowledge and the sophistication of their observations. And remember that epic battle from the Mahabharata, the Kurukshetra War. According to mythology, it marks the transition from Dwapara Yuga to Kali Yuga.
So it's not just a random battle, it's a symbolic event that signifies the shift into this darker age.
Exactly. The Kurukshetra War serves as a powerful symbol of the changing yugas, a turning point where the forces of darkness, so to speak, gain the upper hand. But even in times of decline, there's always the potential for renewal.
Speaking of renewal, there's that prophecy about Kalki, Vishnu's final avatar. He's supposed to appear at the end of Kali Yuga and restore balance, ushering in a new golden age.
The prophecy of Kalki offers a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the possibility for transformation and a return to a higher state of being always exists. It's a reminder that the cycle continues.
So it's not a linear progression toward an apocalypse, but rather a cyclical journey with ups and downs, periods of light and darkness.
Exactly. The yugas offer a cyclical vision of history that contrasts with the linear, often apocalyptic narratives found in some other traditions. It's a reminder that even decline is not the final word. It's just a phase in a larger cosmic dance.
Now, getting back to ancient secrets of Indian mythology, it also explores the search for the legendary city of Lanka, Ravana's stronghold in the Ramayana. This always intrigued me. Is Lanka a real place?
The most prevalent theory is that Lanka is modern-day Sri Lanka. The island's geography, its ancient ruins, and even its name align with the descriptions in the Ramayana.
So like the city of Troy, what was once thought of as a myth could actually be a real historical location. And what about Rama Setu, the bridge that Rama supposedly built to reach Lanka? That's a real thing too, right?
Rama Setu, also known as Adam's Bridge, is a chain of limestone shoals connecting India and Sri Lanka. It sparked a lot of debate about its origins. Was it a natural formation, or was it artificially modified in ancient times? The Ramayana provides a detailed account of its construction, which would have been an incredible feat of engineering for that time period.
It's fascinating how myth and reality seem to intersect in these stories. And this book also talks about Ravana, the villain of the Ramayana, in a nuanced way. He's not just pure evil. He's a brilliant scholar, a devotee of Shiva, a powerful king. He's complex.
Ravana's complexity is one of the things that makes the Ramayana so compelling. He represents the dangers of unchecked ambition and the misuse of power, but he also possesses qualities that command a certain respect. He's a reminder that even those we consider villains can have depth and layers.
It's like a reminder that good and evil aren't always so clear-cut. Speaking of which, let's talk about the concept of avatars. These are divine beings who descend to Earth in times of crisis to set things right.
The concept of avatars is central to understanding Indian mythology. It suggests that the divine isn't distant or aloof, but actively involved in the world, intervening to guide humanity and restore balance.
It's like the gods are rolling up their sleeves and getting their hands dirty. And Vishnu is known for having many different avatars, each with a specific purpose.
Yes. Vishnu's 10 avatars, known as the Dashavatara, represent a spectrum spectrum of divine interventions, from Matsya the fish, who saves humanity from a great flood, to Kurma the tortoise, who helps churn the ocean during the creation myth, to Krishna, the divine charioteer, and Rama, the warrior king. Each avatar embodies a different aspect of divine power and purpose.
It's like a cosmic superhero team, each member with their own unique abilities. But what's interesting is that the idea of avatars isn't unique to Indian mythology. Many cultures have similar concepts of divine beings taking human form.
That's right. You have Jesus in Christianity, Hercules in Greek mythology, and many others. It seems to be a universal archetype that speaks to the human longing for divine guidance and intervention.
Okay, so we've got gods descending to Earth, epic battles, flying machines, cosmic cycles. Indian mythology certainly has it all. But there's one more concept we need to explore: karma and reincarnation. These are pretty big ideas that have influenced a lot of people's worldviews.
Karma and reincarnation are foundational principles in many Eastern philosophies. They offer a framework for understanding life, death, and the soul's journey.
All right, break it down for me. What exactly is karma? Is it like some cosmic scorecard where every good deed gets you a point and every bad deed gets you a deduction?
Karma is often simplified as a system of reward and punishment, but it's much more nuanced than that. It's essentially the principle of cause and effect applied to our actions, thoughts, and intentions. Every choice we make creates ripples that affect not only our present life, but also our future lives.
So it's not about being judged by some divine accountant. It's about understanding that our actions have consequences, both in this life and beyond.
Exactly. Karma is a natural law, like gravity. It's not about punishment or reward. It's about balance and the interconnectedness of everything.
Okay, that makes sense. And how does reincarnation fit into all of this?
Reincarnation, or samsara, is the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. It's the soul's journey through multiple lifetimes, shaped by the karma it has accumulated. Think of it like a school. We keep coming back to learn and evolve until we've mastered the lessons and graduated, so to speak.
So you're basically saying that life is a continuous learning process, and each lifetime is like a new semester.
That's a great way to put it. The goal, in many Eastern traditions, is to achieve liberation, or moksha, from this cycle of reincarnation.
So it's not about escaping life, but rather about evolving to a point where you no longer need to be reborn into this earthly realm.
Precisely. And Indian mythology is filled with stories that illustrate karma and reincarnation. Vishnu's avatars, for example, represent divine beings reborn into new forms to help humanity. And the Jataka tales, stories about the Buddha's past lives, show how karmic consequences play out across lifetime.
It's fascinating how these ancient ideas connect with some modern scientific and philosophical concepts. The principle of cause and effect is central to science, and the idea of consciousness persisting beyond the physical body is something that some scientists and philosophers are exploring.
It's true. The concept of karma aligns with the scientific principle of cause and effect, while the idea of reincarnation raises intriguing questions about the nature of consciousness and whether it can exist independently of the physical body. These are questions that we may not have definitive answers to, but they certainly invite deeper exploration.
Before we wrap up our deep dive into ancient Indian mythology, we have to talk about those incredible mythical creatures. We've touched on a few already, but there's a whole menagerie of fantastical beings in these stories.
Oh yeah, Indian mythology is teeming with fascinating creatures, each one embodying a different aspect of nature, human psychology, or spiritual truth. You have the Nagas, the serpent beings often associated with wisdom, the life force. There's a Garuda, the mighty eagle, who symbolizes strength, freedom, and the pursuit of higher consciousness. And then there are the Rakshasas, the demonic entities that embody fear, chaos, and the darker aspects of human nature.
Right. We talked about Ravana, the Rakshasa king of Lanka. It's interesting that these creatures aren't just monsters, they're symbols, archetypes that represent different forces at play within us and in the universe.
Exactly. The Nagas, for example, often guard sacred treasures, representing the hidden wisdom and potential that lie within each of us. Garuda, soaring through the skies, embodies the soul's aspiration to transcend limitations and reach enlightenment. And the Rakshasas remind us that we must be vigilant against our own inner demons, even as we strive for good.
It's like a cosmic drama with all these different characters representing different aspects of the human experience and the universe itself.
And what's remarkable is how these creatures have parallels in mythologies from all over the world. Dragons, griffins, demons, these archetypal figures appear across cultures, suggesting that they speak to something universal in the human psyche.
It's like a shared language of myth, a way for humans across time and cultures to grapple with the big questions about life, death, and the nature of reality.
Well said. And that's what makes exploring mythology so enriching. It's a journey into the collective imagination of humanity, a way of connecting with ancient wisdom and uncovering timeless truth about ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Well, that brings our deep dive into ancient Indian mythology to an end. We've covered a lot of ground, from the creation of the universe to the depths of the human soul, encountering flying machines, cosmic cycles, epic battles, and a whole cast of mythical creatures along the way.
It's been quite a journey, and I hope it's inspired you to keep exploring these fascinating topics. Indian mythology is a vast and intricate tapestry with many layers to uncover.
Absolutely. What stood out to you the most from this exploration? What questions are you still pondering? And what other ancient myths or traditions might hold hidden wisdom for our modern world?
The world is full of mysteries, and sometimes the most profound insights come from the most most unexpected places. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into ancient Indian mythology. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those hearts open.